Hello students, I welcome you once again to our SHS 3 Core Mathematics program brought to you by Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling. My name is Ben. We are going to continue with our discussion on the topic Mensuration 2. In our previous lesson, we discussed surface area of a sphere. Today we shall look at the volume of a sphere. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to 1. Establish the formula for finding the volume of a sphere. Calculate the volume of a sphere. And calculate the volume of a hemisphere. Let's first look at the volume of a sphere. The volume of a three-dimensional solid is always the amount of space it occupies. Volume is measured in cubic units. Please always ensure that all of the measurements are in the same units before you start computing the volume. The volume V of a sphere is 4/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius cubed. We can write the volume of a sphere with radius r as V equals 4 divided by 3 pi r cubed. Let's look at how to calculate the volume of a sphere. The formula for calculating the volume of a sphere, as we have already said, is V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. In this formula, we have V representing the volume and r representing the radius of the sphere. So when a problem is given, you have to identify the radius of the sphere. Let's look at an example. The radius of a sphere is 9 centimeters. Calculate, correct to 2 decimal places, the volume of the sphere. Let's take pi to be 3.142. This is a very simple question. Let's look at the solution. We have the formula to be V equals 4 divided by 3 pi r cubed. Our r has been given as 9, so we do our substitution, and that will give us V equals 4 divided by 3 multiplied by 3.142 multiplied by 9 cubed. And when we simplify that, we have 3054.024. You can get that from the calculator. We are to write our answer to 2 decimal places. So our final answer will be 3054.02 centimeters cubed. That's very simple. Let's take another example to see how easy it is to calculate the volume of a sphere. We are to calculate the volume of a sphere with diameter 30 meters. And we are to leave our answer in terms of pi, meaning we have not been given the value of pi, so the final answer will be in terms of pi. Now let's look at the solution. We have been given the diameter to be 30 centimeters, but in the formula we have the radius. So to calculate the radius, you divide the diameter by 2. So the radius of the sphere is 15 meters. We then substitute this into the formula, and we get 4/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by 15 cubed. When we use our calculators to simplify this, you have 4,500 pi meters cubed. we are to leave the answer in terms of pi. That is very, very easy and simple. Let's look at another example. A sphere of radius r centimeters has the same volume as a cylinder of radius 3 centimeters and height 4 centimeters. Find the value of r. That's in this question, we are to find the radius of the sphere. What do we have? We have the volume of the cylinder. We know the formula to be pi r squared h, where the radius of the cylinder is r. Here we mean capital R, and that is 3 centimeters. And the height h is 4 centimeters. The volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. And the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Because they are equal, then we need to equate the two. So you have 4/3 pi r cubed equals pi r squared h. We have been given the radius of the cylinder and the height of the cylinder. So we do the appropriate substitutions. And that will give us 4/3 pi r cubed equals pi multiplied by 3 squared multiplied by 4. If you simplify this expression, I hope you can see that the pi will cancel out, and you have r cubed equals 3/4 multiplied by 3 squared multiplied by 4. And when we simplify that, you have r cubed equals 27. We are looking for the r. So we take the cube root of 27, and that gives us 3 centimeters. Therefore, our r, which is the radius of the sphere, is 3 centimeters. That's very, very easy. Let's look at the volume of a hemisphere. A hemisphere is half of a sphere. So obviously, to find the volume, we only need to calculate half of the volume of a sphere, and that will give us the volume of a hemisphere. So in calculating the volume of a hemisphere, you only need to multiply the volume of a sphere by half. So you have the volume of a hemisphere to be half multiplied by 4/3 pi r cubed, and that will give us 2/3 pi r cubed, where r is the radius of the hemisphere. In fact, from the formula, you can see that the volume of a hemisphere is equal to 2/3 of the product of pi and the cube of the radius. Let's look at an example, a way that we can apply this formula. Find the volume of a hemisphere with radius 14 centimeters, correct to 1 decimal place. We first quote our formula, which we know to be volume equals 2/3 pi r cubed. We know our pi, we know our r, which is the radius. So we do the substitutions, and we have v equals 2/3 multiplied by 3.14, which is the value of pi, multiplied by 14 cubed. If you use our calculators, then you are going to have v equals 5,744.135. We have to write our answer to 1 decimal place. So doing the conversion, we have v equals 5,744.1 centimeters cubed.
Action.
We look at another example. A hemisphere has volume 2,800 centimeters cubed. Find the radius of the hemisphere, correct to the nearest millimeter. Now the solution. We need a formula for calculating the volume of a hemisphere, which is V equals 2 over 3 pi r cubed. We have been given the volume to be 2,800. So we do the appropriate substitutions, and we have 2,800 equals 2 divided by 3 pi r cubed. If you do change of subject, because we are looking for r, then we have r cubed equals 2,800 multiplied by 3 divided by 2 multiplied by 3.14, which is the value of pi. When we simplify, we are going to get 1,336.58. Because we are looking for r, we take the cube root of 1,336.58, and that will give us 11.02. We are to write our answer to 1 decimal place. So r will be equal to 11.0 centimeters. Now the radius is approximately 110 millimeters, because we are to write our answer in millimeters. That was very, very easy. Very, very simple. I hope you can try this one. A water reservoir in the form of a cone mounted on a hemisphere is built such that the plane face of the hemisphere fits exactly to the base of the cone, and the height of the cone is 6 times the radius of the base. If the volume of the reservoir is 333 1/3 pi meters cubed, calculate, correct to the nearest whole number, the volume of the hemisphere. Again, we are to take pi to be 22 divided by 7. This is a nice question. Try it and let's see how you can do it. Let's look at the solution. You were told the height of the cone is 6 times the radius. So it means the height is equal to 6r. Again, we know the volume of the cone to be 1/3 pi r squared h. But you have been given the height to be 6r. So we substitute 6r in place of h. And that will give us 1 over 3 pi r squared multiplied by 6r. When we simplify this, then we have 2 pi r cubed. Also, we know the volume of a hemisphere to be 2 over 3 pi r cubed. Now, the volume of the reservoir, which is made up of the cone and the hemisphere, will be the volume of the cone added to the volume of the hemisphere. We have calculated the volume of the cone. We know the expression for the volume of the hemisphere, so we do the appropriate substitutions. Doing the appropriate substitutions, we have 333 1/3 pi meter cubed to be equal to 2 pi r cubed plus 2 over 3 pi r cubed. If you simplify both sides, then you have 1,000 pi divided by 3 to be equal to 8 over 3 pi r cubed. You agree with me that the 3 will cancel out, so you have 1,000 pi equals 8 pi r cubed. We are looking for r, so we divide through by 8 pi. And that means we have 1,000 pi divided by 8 pi to be equal to r cubed. And that will give us r cubed equals 125. Therefore, r is the cube root of 125, and that is 5 meters. This is the value of r, which is the radius of the hemisphere. Now the question is for us to calculate the volume of the hemisphere. So we quote the formula for finding the volume of a hemisphere, which is 2 over 3 pi r cubed. We then do our appropriate substitutions. So you have 2 over 3 multiplied by 22 over 7, which is the value of pi, multiplied by 5 cubed, which is our radius. And that will give us, if we use our calculators, going to have 261.9048. We are to calculate our answer to the nearest whole number. So doing that conversion, then we have the volume to be equal to 262 meters cubed. That is very, very easy. I'm sure you were able to go through the question before the final solution. Today we have learnt that 1. The volume of a three-dimensional solid is the amount of space it occupies. 2. The formula for finding the volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed, where r is the radius of the sphere. We have also learned that a hemisphere is half of a sphere, and the volume of a hemisphere is equal to 2/3 of the product of pi and the cube of the radius. Also, the volume of a hemisphere is given by the formula 2 over 3 pi r cubed. Well. This brings us to the end of our discussions on volume of a sphere. In our next lesson, we shall look at distances of arcs of spheres. Join us again for the next lesson. Goodbye.